my name's Rachel Shields from Knowing in Nature, and we are here in the lands of the Anangu peoples, word meaning peoples. So we pay our respects to the spirit of place here that we're on today, here in South Australia. I always like people to speak on behalf of themselves, say who they are, where they're from. And we're just going to have a yarn, and our yarn's always about each person's own knowing, their knowing in nature, and how you speak that into the world and live that in the world. So I have a beautiful friend here and family member who can say, who are you, where are you from?
Actually, I was just thinking about that when you were asking the question. I'm of North Indian origin, but am I really? I was born in Malaysia. Is that my origin? I have lived 40 years out of my 70 in Australia. Is that my origin? So I have a difficulty with that question. What is my origin? My consciousness is that of a Sikh, because I was born to staunch Sikh parents, and my father was very proficient in the Sikh way of life. He was actually a religious teacher, and also he knew that way of life inside out. So I guess that is my influence. It is something I guess I do not want to move away from. There have been times in my life when I wanted to move away from it, but then there was something which said, no, this is the way of life that has been chosen for you. And as time has gone on, experiences of life has shown that I was right in keeping to this particular way of life.
A way of life.
Yes. Now, I think it's important to remember, first of all, that you are speaking in an alien tongue, so am I.
Are we speaking about the language English?
I'm talking about the language English,
Yeah.
right? And also, to a certain degree, we have a Western orientation. As time has gone on, I've realized that that has actually taken me off my path at certain times.
If you could break down the orientation as to, just say you have what you're identifying as the Western orientation and the, let's say, not Western orientation, whatever that may be, how do you understand or feel the contrast between the two for yourself?
Well, first of all, the important thing is to be conscious of it. I did not ask for that. That's the way my life has been. So those are my influences. So the mere consciousness of that is that I have then started looking at my roots from my own background, which is my mother tongue, which is Punjabi. And also because that's what our scriptures are written in, and to interpret or translate those scriptures into English, which has already been done, doesn't actually give the essence of what really the teachings are.
Because the patterns are different.
Different, exactly.
The patterns are, I guess that's where I was trying to extract.
Exactly.
Is my understanding of it is in speaking English, even like for myself, I have my own pattern of speaking English.
Exactly.
And many people will say, where do you come from? You don't speak like other people. Because I'm maintaining some sort of patterning from my own consciousness
Yes.
or awareness or connectivity to
That's right.
country as much as I can while I'm using this language,
Yes.
this coded
Yes.
kind of mishmash from all around the world that has got histories all tangled up inside it.
That's right.
And
That's
it's not
right.
true to any of them.
No.
But in a kind of strange way, if we step out of
Yeah.
human history and we look from a bigger picture, it's a reflection of all things,
It is.
strangely.
Oh, it is. No, it has been a vehicle for me to understand a global worldview rather than being completely entrenched in what my worldview is, which was limited by my language and from my environment. Thanks to English, I was able to get a bigger picture in that sense that I have not stayed in one place. I don't belong to one place, which means I am the true global citizen. I do not have to understand it from strictly my own background, and I do not have to understand it from the Western background. I can keep on searching in, call me a split personality if you like, but I think that is the joy of my own path, because it gives me to, I can understand when I'm thinking Western, I say, hang on a minute, I'm thinking Western now. You know, I need to consider more what my own background is. So I take advantage of both. I have taken the advantage of Western education by spending time in Western countries. Whether we like it or not, we are in a country right now which is Western influenced anyway.
Well, it's the dominant culture.
That's the dominant culture. And like I said, we are speaking in that language as well.
Yeah.
And but the good thing, like I said, is to be able to understand the viewpoint of other people. And in Australia, I've been very fortunate because even though my background is that of an accountant where my livelihood is concerned, I was also able to step away from that because there was a spiritual yearning. So I actually went to university to study whatever I could about the Aboriginal culture as well and way of life. I don't like the word religion. Religion, I
Why
think
don't you like it?
it compartmentalizes it.
Yeah.
It institutionalizes it. It's not, it rather than making it something which is a sense of freedom, spirituality, religion has a tendency of imprisoning you within the baggage which goes with institutionalized religion.
Could be said about education as well.
Oh yes, of course,
Yeah.
of course.
Yeah.
Depending on which part of education you're talking about. Now,
Or institutionalizing education.
yeah, I mean, look, I
Rather
studied
than
history,
learning
geography,
and knowing.
all right, I studied English literature. So there was a sense of exhilaration there. There was freedom because we're studying about the planet. We're learning about the follies of humanity going back thousands of years. And so again, it's opening up a faculty in the mind to say, yes, we must learn more about the background of people as well. All right, it is colonial orientated, the education that I have. But I think I've been very fortunate that I did not study 4 subjects to do my education. Nowadays it's a question of which are the subjects which will give me a livelihood. That is where education becomes institutionalized. But if education can teach one to open up your mind towards all kinds of possibilities, staying as a human being and also the spiritual aspect of it, I think that is important. So that has got to change. But
Yeah, wow.
at the end of the day, it's your self-education which is the most important thing, not what you study in a school.
Yeah. It's all very interesting. I guess coming back to the start, who are you and where you're from is a question that's emerged through displacement. So usually when countrymen mob meet each other, it's like, who are you, where are you from? So as a way of mapping and locating, so where we're sitting right now in Yalata, the story of this place is from where the nuclear bomb was tested, and all the people were displaced and brought from different areas and all brought here to have to coexist, bringing those forced cultures together. And so when we're out and about, it's always who are you? Because especially the elders are really good at this, or they'll see your face and they'll know your face comes from what country. In Australia. They'll go, you got that face, you're from that family mob, even though you've been displaced. Could have been interstate, could have just been 100 kilometres down the road. And where you're from, it's like you might not know where you're from, but usually, depending on who you're sitting with and yarning with, you'll find out where you're from through those conversations. And then you could be even sitting next to a family member and you don't know until we've had that conversation. So it's a part of relocating ourselves again, and when we do that, it also brings meaning forward and healing a lot of times as well. And just on that note, I know when I went overseas by invitation from your family to attend an interfaith gathering years ago in Malaysia, and there was an elderly lady there. I'm not sure if she was recognised as a saint, but when I was introduced as a descendant of the Aboriginal people from Australia, she looked right into my eyes and she came up and said, your people are our ancestors. And I started like smiling and laughing just went,
That's right.
I started seeing songlines and mapping and just the possibilities of these connections. So not necessarily confined by identity or culture, but more so about placement and relational interaction.
That's true. That is true.
Is another layer of the question.
I was going to mention that if you're talking of Aboriginal elders being to recognize other mobs, that puts me out on a limb, because I'm not from here. That is why perhaps it had given me the ability of looking at a more global perspective, trying to understand. I mean, our people, you're talking of displacement within Australia. I'm talking of displacement from our roots. All right? And the British did that. But we never hold a grudge against them. Because what they also did was they introduced us to the rest of the world. So today, Sikhs are there throughout the world. But the kind of background they come from, that DNA, so to speak, is being carried with them. Humanitarianism is part of being a Sikh. Wherever you are, if there's anyone in need, anyone at all, it is your duty. I don't use the word religion. The word religion, the closest word to religion within the areas that I come from is dharma. Dharma, if you put it in one word, it means my duty.
Like, is it also that word held within Buddhism practice?
Yes.
Because I've heard
like I said, it's the same, because that's the part of region that I come from. I come from the region where Buddhism was born, Hinduism, of course, Jainism, Sikhism. These are the main religions from that part. And the word dharma means duty. For example, we would not use the word dharma, and I'm not being derogatory, for the Muslims. They have, I'm trying to remember the word, the word religion is more appropriate to them because of the strict set of rules that they follow. Dharma simply means duty, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said Buddhism. There are no set rules in Buddhism. The important thing is finding your inner peace and your inner happiness right? And you know what's happened to the Dalai Lama in Tibet. Talking of displacement, I mean, he's lived in exile since 1950. That's 60 odd years ago. He moved out of his country and he's never been back. But you never see that on his face. There's a big smile on his face. And he says, but it gave me the opportunity of seeing the rest of the world. So what I'm trying to say is that we were always taught right from the beginning, do not look upon it as something which holds you down, the fact that you have been displaced. Look upon it as an opportunity of doing greater things in the whole planet. So that is the way our way of life has been, and dharma to us literally means duty. And duty means not only to your own kind, you know.
I was just about to go there.
No.
When you mentioned the whole planet, I was like,
Yes.
I'm so interested to hear through you and through your dharma, your
Yes.
way of being, I would say sums up like another way of, your way of being.
Yes.
It's a way of being,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Law,
That's
dharma, pono, your way of being in
That's it.
relation with life and
Yes.
others.
Yes.
So can you first, because what is your name?
My name is Dya Singh.
And how did that name arrive to you, and what meaning does it hold?
Oh, wonderful. Back to basics again. That is good.
Yeah.
Singh is a surname given to us by our 10th master, where our way of life, I call it a life philosophy, where our life philosophy is concerned. We had 10 masters, and we have a conviction that the light of enlightenment, again, restrictions of the English language,
Yeah.
the enlightenment traveled from the first master through the 10 masters. And the life has now been bestowed into our 11th master, which in a Western parlance I will call our scriptures. But they're not our scriptures. They are our 11th master. And we treat it like a living embodiment of the spirit which passed through all the 10 masters. So it's the same philosophy. And the term we use is Jot Jugat. Jot means the enlightenment. Jugat means the methodology, the path. The enlightenment and the path passed through all 10 masters, instilled into the 11th master. The 10th master gave us one surname. He said, we are members of the one human family. Okay. And Singh actually loosely means lion. Lion in the sense that the connotations of that are, you will be benevolent, but you will not take any crap from anyone as well. If you are set upon, then you will defend yourself. That is the overtones of the word lion. And all our ladies are called Kaur, K-A-U-R. Kaur means princess, but not in, don't behave like a princess, not in that sense.
Yeah.
It also means prince. It means someone who the lion must value. And in fact, the princess is put perhaps in a more elevated position than the lion. Because the princess is the future of the human race.
The mother and child.
The mother and child, the earth. Right? So we have the same surname, Singh and Kaur. So I am Dya Singh. The first part of my name is something which we take names out after a prayer, sincere prayer, and we go to our 11th master, our scriptures, the Guru Granth Sahib. And at random, we pick out a passage and we read it.
How do you randomly do that?
You open the book up and you just open it to any page right?
Yeah.
Then you turn one page over,
One more page.
turn one page over,
Yeah.
and pick up the passage which is at the bottom
Wow.
of the right hand, which goes over the page. That is to show continuity.
There you go.
Okay, you pick up that particular passage,
Yeah.
and the name should start with the first letter on that page. But you read through the passage, so that will give some kind of an indication of what kind of a temperament, personality that human being will have.
So it's like whatever animal's been hanging around.
Exactly.
It's like it's the totem of the child yet to
That's
be
right.
born, and the
That's right.
characteristics.
Exactly.
So spirit is showing the characteristics,
That's right.
and the mother and the father will be taking
That's
notice,
right.
or the grandparents be like, "That's that."
That's, yes, it is something which is there around you, and it comes to the fore at that particular moment. That art of naming a child is now, of course, dying. People do not believe in all that, but we still strongly do, and we are trying to get our younger generation to also understand that it's important to reflect on the name
Yeah.
and then come up with the right name.
To
I was
listen.
fortunate. Not only was the first letter the start of my name, it was actually the first word.
And it means.
It means one who is compassionate. Dya Singh. Dya Singh means always be compassionate. So my father had no choice but to name me Dya Singh. That's how it was picked up.
Yeah.
And a lot of the characteristics in that particular passage, because our guru is not stories. It's about love. It is about life. It is about seeking the truth. It is about compassion. It is about social justice. So it's those universal truths which are there in virtually every passage. Every hymn is like that. So from the passage, if you start reading in between the lines, if you have not picked a name, you will find the name reading between the lines.
Yeah.
In other words, you sit down there and you reflect on that passage, and you'll come up with a name. Mine was easy, like I said. The first word was Dya, and father said, yep, his name is going to be Dya Singh. So that's how we get our name. I know you asked a short question, but I gave you a very long answer to
Well, I
it.
like to have the tapestry
That's right.
in
I
there
think
as
that's
well,
important. That's right.
because then it helps people better get it rather
Yes.
than make assumptions and projections and miss. We keep missing
That's
one
right.
another.
That's right.
So when we hear that, let's
That's
say
right.
storytelling,
Yes.
the embodiment of a moment, it helps us to go, and relate and go, oh, well, actually, we do that in this way,
That's right.
and we can relate to each other.
That's right.
And
That's right.
talking about relating, I'm always interested as well, like saying the 11th master now, it's the scriptures, so to speak.
This is the
An
eternal
English
master.
word.
Yeah.
11 is kind of a number that resonates to that anyway when you want to break it down in other ways.
Yes. Yes.
How's the relationship, or how does nature weave itself through that way of living your life as a Sikh?
The great thing about Sikhism, in fact, we don't even like to call it Sikhism.
Yeah, I'm not sure what else to say because it's
Limitations.
being a human,
All
right?
We call it Sikhi.
Sikhi.
Sikhi. Sikhi literally means student, to learn.
Beautiful.
So in other words, we believe that you learn all your life. You never stop learning. So somebody who turns around and says, I am now a master, we take that with a pinch of salt. Nobody is a master. You can have more experience, and you can pass that experience down to the younger generations, but you're never a master. We had our 10 masters, and we have an eternal master. What our way of life has taught us, nature, the human is top of the food chain, but with that comes responsibility. The bounty that is given to you on this planet is limited. But if you manage it well, it will go on forever. If you mismanage it, that will lead to your own destruction. So that's in a nutshell, putting our belief in nature. Water is the father. Water is the father. The mother is earth. Earth is the mother. And then we go on to say the environment is the master. Read whatever you like into that.
I can relate to
Your
that.
environment
Is your master.
your master.
Complete.
You want to destroy yourself, you start attacking the master.
We don't own country. Country owns us.
That's right.
In that way, it's the master.
That's right. That's right. After having said all that, it has also equipped us to continue with life through the follies of humanity. It also taught us how to be urbanized. If you are cut out from nature, remember that the elements are within you. So you can be imprisoned in a room for the rest of your life. It should not disorientate you.
Yeah.
So you just turn inwards. So that is a safety valve as well. So you can live completely in an urbanized society, but within that urbanized society you can find your peace because nature is also within you.
Yeah, so the life force that is within all of nature is never not within us.
Exactly.
So call it creation, spirit, mana.
But you must nurture it.
Maintain the connection.
You must maintain the connection.
Yeah.
That is the important thing. Otherwise you cut yourself out.
Yeah. It's like I'm about to stoke this fire.
Oh yeah.
Same thing, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Otherwise it will go out.
That's right.
So
That's right. Exactly. Exactly.
and
Yeah, the sad part is that a lot of humanity now, I find that they are completely out of touch with that own fire within,
yeah.
that own spirit within.
Yeah.
And sadly, some of them are oblivious to it right to their end. So I guess that is one of the other thing which, of course, through our guru, we are
Why
taught.
is it a guru? So that's
Teacher.
another English word.
Yeah. Good. No, it's not an English. No.
No, like
Guru is
Educate me.
definitely an Indian word.
Indian word.
All right. Gu means darkness.
Gu
Gu,
means darkness.
darkness. Ru means light.
That's the balance point.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then there's no polarity, which I would say is spirit.
That's the real meaning of the word
Thank
guru.
you. Because a lot of
Loosely as a teacher. Nah, it's much more than that.
well, it's been
Much.
it's been taken to become the above you.
That's right.
That's how it's being used in the world.
Exactly.
Like idolizing,
Exactly.
above
That's
you.
right. That's right. Yeah.
I'm here, you're there.
That's right. That's right.
Give me everything you got, and I'll keep making you feel like you're
Oh, yes.
learning something.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
it's
Yep.
been hijacked.
That's right. That's right. Like a lot of many other words from the background Indian languages. The root language is Sanskrit, just like Latin, I think, is the background language in Europe. Ours is Sanskrit. And Sanskrit is a very, very religious, spiritual language. So our whole languages have come out from Sanskrit.
I'm not sure if this is true, but I did hear once that the language in itself, in written form, was really how light and shadow fell to create the shapes.
I honestly don't know much about that. I really don't. The only thing that I know from my background is our language was a spoken language. It wasn't a written language.
Like all of them, until they were.
Original languages are spoken languages,
Yeah.
right? And whatever scripts were available, our gurus actually came up with our own script. So, interestingly enough, our scriptures are written in our script. And that is, what can I say? We find that our language is one of the most complete languages. It's the only language, well, from our ignorant viewpoint,
Yeah.
where you can virtually write any other language in our language correctly.
So when you say correctly, does that mean that it doesn't lose anything in its translation?
Yes.
So it
For
keeps
example, I'll
the
give you an
essence
example.
of the word.
I'll give you an example. Just now I saw on the board outside, you mentioned Yatala just now.
Yeah.
On the board it says, there are certain words here, for example, NG
Said together.
starts with NG. The word that starts with NG,
Yeah.
it is pronounced as you would end the word song. Ng.
No.
Ng is not in the English language,
It's in the
Right.
indigenous languages.
but it's in the Punjabi language. Nganga is actually a letter in the Punjabi language. And many other words. There's a word in our language, for example, the word ada. Ada. You can't write that in English. If I want to put sadak, you can put D, it becomes sadak. Or you put an R and it becomes sarak. How do you write the word ada, sadak? Right? We have it in our language. Our alphabet is 35 letters. English language is 26 letters. So those are the limitations. That's where we find our language far more superior. But unfortunately, it's a minority language and it does not have much economic value to it.
So I would say it like this, it's a minority language which is much more accommodating.
That's yes. Exactly.
Yeah, it's much
Exactly.
more accommodating.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's my assumption that is it an indigenous language from that region?
Well, indigenous as far as the fact that our first guru was only around 543 years ago.
Okay, well there we go. Well, it's interesting.
We are the new kids on the block.
New kids on the block. I wonder who the
But of course, it's rooted way back. The roots are way back. But that's where it starts from, because they set up the script of the language, picking on a language which is a spoken language,
oral, yeah.
oral
Yeah,
language.
yeah, oral languages.
Right. I think it would be very similar to the Aboriginal languages as well, because they are oral languages. And now when you want to read an Aboriginal language, you got to put it into the English script to be able to read it.
I did study linguistics for a short time and
Yep.
I became disturbed very quickly because I was just like, oh my gosh,
That's
I can
right.
see the Latin construct here of which
That's
you're
right.
trying to get me to
Exactly.
think,
That's right.
to write these words, and my brain was flipping and I just said,
Yep.
this is so backwards.
No,
I
in
can't
that sense,
even
I
do
think we are very
this.
lucky, and it's sad now that the younger generations, we have difficulty in teaching the language to them. We are trying our hardest, but we are a minority spread out all over the world. We only number about 30 million throughout the world.
It's interesting.
So we are a minority everywhere.
Same thing though, a very accommodating minority
Yes,
that
that's true.
are not self-centered people
No, not at
and
all.
always interested in the well-being of others.
Yes, but it has its setbacks. We have the reputation of being able to pick up any language in any part of the world. We are the quickest people to pick up any language in any other part of the world. Simply because that's the kind of language we have in our background accommodates that. which also means we have a tendency of pushing our language aside and picking up the adopted language. That will be our shortfall into the future. If only the younger generation will become more conscious of it. But on the other hand, we don't worry too much about it because it's not a question of looking for longevity as such. We have been here 543 years. We have done a tremendous amount for this planet. And at the price of getting perished, doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter at all. As long as you can put forward the philosophy into the people around us. That to us is more important. So in other words, to be of service. The greatest gift on this planet is to be of service to others. That's what we do. And then of course we move on.
To another plane of existence?
We don't know. We don't know, do we? We don't know.
I love that you don't know.
We don't know.
I love that.
And it's something we don't concern ourselves much with.
Yeah.
You know, things like, oh, and thou shalt be saved. We don't take all that. No.
But
You're already saved. You're here. Now, what are you going to do with your life?
you know, you exist. But there is a concept of, well, I don't know if concept's the word, but there is the awareness of like a karmic cycle. Is
Again,
that true?
it is, yes, it is a theory.
A theory. Yeah.
All right. And we accept it because it's okay.
Anything that helps guide you to be the best of yourself.
Exactly.
Right? And to take
Exactly.
accountability for your own creations.
That's right.
Okay.
Right? People like to believe it. Oh, I strongly believe in that. I'll say, well, it's there. If it makes me a better person, as I'm here now, that's the important thing. And it also helps me. There are two things. The theory of transmigration of the soul and the law of karma. That's also a theory. Karma means what you sow, what is it?
So shall you reap.
So shall you reap.
Yeah.
All right? The whole sentence in our Guru is, this is the plane of cause and effect.
Yes, it is.
Okay? What you sow,
Yeah.
so shall you reap. So that is the amount which comes out, and the Guru Sahib puts that in front of you. This is what it is. So what does it mean? It means you do the best you can in this lifetime. And it also helps us to accept the things which go wrong in our life. The more religious will say, I'm probably paying for some bad karma that I inherited in the past, maybe from a previous life. That is why this is happening to me. So it's a very nice coping mechanism to accept that.
It allows you to build meaning around it rather than
Exactly.
be traumatized by it.
Exactly. So you don't start blaming, God, what have I done to you that this is happening to me? No.
Yeah.
No, you
You're
don't
not
do that.
placing self-pity
No.
either.
No.
So you're never thinking, when you come back to talking about Prince and the princess,
Yes.
my translation of listening to you about that is that you're never placing yourself less than what creation has made you as,
Exactly.
because you exist. I always say we're not a mistake, right?
No.
And we are an aspect of something far greater than
Yes.
us, but we are of that thing,
That's
whatever
right.
that is.
That's right. Exactly.
It exists through us.
That's right.
So if I hear the word prince and princess,
Yes.
not in the royal sense,
Not in the royal sense.
but in the
exactly.
existence sense.
Existence sense.
and
Exactly.
then why would we become a victim of life
Exactly. Exactly.
when we are having an experience? I mean,
Yeah.
got to fine tune the brain sometimes to get out of that, because it's easy to blame, is it?
Exactly.
It's easy to,
Exactly.
and I've been there and done that.
Yep.
It's easier to put someone else in the spot of taking my responsibility.
That's right. That is right.
It's just like,
And that is why when it comes to, I mean, I'm a social raconteur, it's called, I think. Raconteur means I comment on social aspects of life. And of course in the West, I mean, I'm one of those, I love to watch television. And then when I sit back and I watch this, I don't mean to be offensive, to watch a group of white commentators sitting there who are fairly learned, and they'll talk about all these current issues. I sometimes find it very amusing because, first of all, they are the same issues. Then, of course, when it comes to women's rights, for example, right? Especially the women folk, you can see they are waiting to put a dig in the men, right? In other words, to be able to shift the blame to someone else for their lot. Rather than positively saying we're going to do something about this and getting on with it. That's that. You can see the sort of undercurrent which flows within them, that we have been put down by men all our lives, right? Yet, there's nothing said about why are they pandering then to men? Why do they still try to look pretty, for example? Why can't they get on with what they're supposed to be doing, you see? On the other hand, the dependency on men is there, and yet they are grudgingly saying all sorts of things, women power, feminism. Because from the background that I come from, it's already there. You don't have to give it a special name. I'm a feminist. No. Women in our culture, in our way of life, in fact, to a certain degree, are superior to the men. But it's up to the women to recognize that, isn't it?
I think it's beautiful what you're saying, because what I've noticed, I've never identified in that way,
Yeah.
a feminist, or, like, I find it mind-boggling. But I do notice that when in life I've been in a blamey position or felt I had the right to put someone down, it's when I'm not actually living all of my ideas.
That's
if I'm
right.
not living my life to the fullest, as in I'm holding myself back, makes me frustrated.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And then it's easier to, again, push the responsibility
That's
onto
right.
others. That's what
right.
I recognize
That's right.
from my own life, my own experiences. And catch yourself,
That's right. That's
because the less you do that, then you're not going to play that game.
No.
There's nothing to blame.
No,
There's
no.
no one to shame. It doesn't condone the imbalanced actions of people. But if I mind my own business,
That's right.
and I don't let my creativity fall
That's
to
right.
the side, and
That's right.
I don't hand my power over to others,
Exactly.
meaning that I don't think I can do it myself,
Exactly.
then I don't get to that point of emptying myself
That's
to
right.
then try and fill up on someone else by
Exactly.
blaming, shaming,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
putting down to try
That's
and
right.
empower me.
No, exactly.
That's all I
exactly.
see it as.
That's right.
And
That's right.
might be a big argument about to brew there from anyone listening to that's not ready.
Well,
but that's what I recognise for myself.
look, push it
and
back.
it hurts yourself the
It does.
most.
It does. It does.
You just
it
hurt
does.
yourself.
We are a
It's
minority.
like uncomfortable.
We are a minority anywhere in the world. We have been beaten up and even killed for mistaken identity.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I shall not go
No,
further
just
into
leave
that.
It there, yeah.
But that has not stopped us from working harder. We go for an interview,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to come out of the interview saying that guy who interviewed me is a racist. He's not going to give me the job because of the way I look.
Yeah.
All it means is I just got to try harder, and I'll find ways and means of getting on with my life. It makes me work harder.
It motivates something
It
inside
motivates
you.
me rather than turning me negative.
Yeah.
We have learned that lesson throughout the world.
Yeah.
And we are very lucky because our life philosophy teaches us that. For example, we are compared whenever our gurus talked about Sikhs. They said, behave like as if you are 125,000. You're not an individual. When you refer to yourself think that you're worth 125,000 other people.
I can translate that. I imagine that standing behind me are thousands of generations of ancestors.
There you are.
And of all the experience, knowledge and wisdom
That's right.
attained over all those generations, then I have that backing me
Exactly.
as well.
Exactly.
You know, I can't
Yes.
fall.
No.
Yeah, I can't fail.
No, you can't. You can't.
Yeah.
You can give up your life, but you can't fail. If you're giving up your life for the right cause, you haven't failed.
And it also motivates.
You've achieved something.
It motivates this because sometimes I can think some of my ancestors, meaning all of us around the planet,
Yes.
were bound, chained, held back physically,
Oh, yes.
but I'm
Yes.
not. And
Exactly.
therefore I'm going to go forward
That's right.
on behalf
That's
of
right.
those that couldn't as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
Not in a way that it's like a weight in my heart, but
That's right.
it's a motivator. It's a motivating force because
That's right.
I can step up right now.
That's right. There's a word in our background called Chaddi Kala. Chaddi Kala means always live in a state of optimism. Never go negative. The moment you find yourself going negative, try and look for the positives in it.
Yeah.
Sometimes desperately.
Flip the coin.
That's right. What's on the other side?
Yeah.
Always be in that state of mind.
Yeah.
And I think subconsciously Sikhs have learnt it. And that is what makes us pretty successful where this life is concerned and whatever is in store for us after this. We don't know what it is, but we have done the right thing by this life. That is the important thing.
Yeah. It is.
We have always, one of the things which I think of my own life, and I'll say this without any reservation, I consider myself very fortunate that the elements, and perhaps for the kind of person I am, to have brought me to this country. I've been here 40 years now, and from a personal point of view, there is some kind of a reward to have been able to come to this country in this lifetime. I mean, I was born and bred in Malaysia, and we find that the turmoil and upheavals which are going on in the countries we originate from, India, Malaysia. I was in England for 10 years. But somehow the elements were very gracious to me by allowing me to migrate to Australia. Because it's been a wonderful 40 years and I've seen a lot of things. This country has its upheavals as well, but not to the degree that I have seen it in other countries. So that is my social commentating, to be able to spend 40 years in this life. And I was the kind of person who used to think, I don't know where I'm going to end. I don't know where my life is going to end. But hey, I'm quite happy to end it here, I think. I'm quite happy. I don't want to go to any other country. And to be sitting out here, you know, on the Nullabor,
That's where we are in the Nullabor.
there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of space. There's a sense of timelessness. We live within time. We are bound by time, unfortunately. But to be able to live in a sense of timelessness, which to a certain degree I have learnt it from the Aboriginal people. Because I had a wonderful, most enjoyable time doing my degree in Aboriginal administration. I was able to go out to Aboriginal lands. I was able to pick up pigeon jara. I remember some wonderful trips to places like Alice Spring, and Uluru. To be able to go there and feel that sense of sacredness. Yes, I did say earlier that it doesn't matter if you're living in an urban place, but to be able to get out there and to be able to rejuvenate the spirit is something which I have savored, and I consider myself very lucky to have been able to do that. So I've got no complaints, and I'm glad that those around me who put into my responsibility, like my own family, I was able to do the right thing by them, to give them the kind of a start which it was my dharma to do. So my dharma on this planet, in that sense, is complete. And the rest of my life it's a bonus. To be able to sit down with you around a fire, have a very simple meal, and have a chat. I couldn't ask for anything more.
I agree. I agree.
And I think if I can instill that sense of well-being, contentedness in others by talking to you, then perhaps I have been able to pass something on.
And that's your knowing. That's your knowing.
Yes.
In your nature.
That's right.
From your spirit.
That's right.
To the spirit of others.
That's right.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah. And thank you to life.